Well, my name's Kyle Brook. I'm a surveyor in Northern California. I started out surveying in the Bay Area, and uh, now I'm up in the foothills of California, kind of between Sacramento and Tahoe. I live in the same valley that gold was discovered in California, starting the 1849 gold rush, and tons of history out here, and tons of old mining claims and things like that to survey. I run my own small business now, and I'm constantly posting, whiny comments on LinkedIn saying like, "Oh, it's hard," and so I'm excited to get some help with some boundary stuff today because, I'm licensed as a surveyor, which means I am minimally competent, and I'm always interested in learning more. And my big thing is I'm always trying to hear other people's perspectives. And as a solo operator operating in the middle of nowhere, I interact with, very few surveyors as much as I would like, and love chat and survey. So that's what I'm here to do today.
And to piggyback on that, that's a lot of what Kyle, myself, and Jerry kind of took this Roundtable Tuesdays to kind of this format, as opposed to maybe just getting together and talking about specific subjects or problems. We thought that this format might be better, and it's kind of initially what we were going to do with mentoring is provide that ability for people to come and ask questions and ask for support and mentorship type stuff. But this one, going over boundary related problems, I think this is going to be, I think, a lot better conversation that'll help a lot more people as a professional career. And like we talked about the solar operators, right? There's so many 60+% or less than 5 employees, and so having this forum to be able to talk through problems, I think is going to be beneficial. So, and again, this is only the second time we've done it, and Kyle's running both of these at the moment. So this is open to anyone who is working on projects that want a second opinion, or 18 different opinions at this point. So it's an open forum. So anybody can always suggest and submit on the websites, emails, reach out to Kyle, Jerry, myself, Ian. He's retiring and riding off in the sunset, but he's going to be here to support us. Jay, same thing before he rides off to the sunset. So anybody's please submit your stuff. So we'll go with that, Kyle.
Well, George, just let me know whenever you want to go out to my wine club. It's not too far from this project, actually a lot of good wine coming out of the Plymouth area.
There you go.
And yeah, I'll let you know when I come up skiing, though. Currently, and I'm a little embarrassed to say this, I am a Epic Pass member because I live close to Kirkwood. So anyway,
one of my favorite areas.
Yeah,
it's just too long a drive to ski hard and drive home that day.
Yeah, I was thinking I was pretty tired from a good skiing day on Friday, and then I went out and hiked 6 miles on this project yesterday, and I'm pretty tired today. So that is where this is. So the general overview of this, and actually I wanted to start. Can we all see my screen? Am I sharing that correctly?
Yep, you're doing good.
So here we are in Northern California, kind of on the northern Amador, El Dorado County boundary. Gold discovered up here, Kirkwood's up here, Sacramento's down here, and the Bay Area is that way. I'm down here on this project working on these 4 parcels. So, I mean, I'm calling them parcels now. It's 2 aliquot parcels, and you'll see that in the patented descriptions. Basically, today it's described as, with 2 separate descriptions, it describes these 4 general parcels. And boy, would it be easy if the corners were exactly where this PLSS viewer puts things. And, maybe that's what you guys want to suggest I do. It sure would be easier. It's not too far off in some places. But essentially, I'm coming out here and finding little to no recorded maps. You'll see some of those as I talk about what I've found so far off to the west. And there's a couple things down to the south that have been recorded. Other than that, I've gotten the GLL notes from our Sacramento BLM offices, and trying to retrace basically surveys from the, the last recorded survey on this was in 1878 or whatever. So I'll pull that open in a little bit. But yeah, when you're looking at this thing, in general, this ridge line, these four little chunks here, the west half of section 33, township 8 north, 10 east. And somebody, if anyone out there on this call is in the Wisconsin area, you got to get out and help Jerry with his mic because we're going to need him today. But,
Can you hear me now?
Yes, you're back.
Damn it.
all right, so you guys can cut in whenever. Like, I don't want this to be me talking at you. What I've been calling this in my head today, at least, has been I've got problems, you've got answers. Basically, I'm hoping to get some help with these things, and so I'll tell you what I know so far, and what other people have done in the area, and how I've gone about it, where I'm at today, and we can kind of chart out where you think a prudent surveyor would go next. So I'd been out there once, just kind of scoping it out, not finding anything, and I've gone by a couple times to try to find some stuff, and I realized that okay, there are some non-record points out here, but there are some recorded. There are some recorded maps that reference some things for section 31 and 32. Nothing really in 33. I talked to this homeowner yesterday, and apparently he got his property surveyed, and there might be a record of it, but I can almost guarantee the way they did that was basing things on existing fences only and not trying to break down the section. I'll just show you a map that looks like that later. This is a ridgeline road. This is called Spring Valley Road that goes up along here. And then along the ridge, this is a very, very rough road that kind of has been bulldozed through the chaparral. When we look at the GLL notes, you'll see a lot of calls for chamisol, which I had to Google, but it's essentially chaparral. It's a specific shrub type that is all over the place out there. And yeah, poison oak, thick manzanita, and chamisol is what you're seeing that's green here. Every time you get out into these open areas, that's all grassy woodlands with oaks, lots of oaks, lots of grass, and there have been fires. There's been at least one fire through the area since at least the original GLO maps, and I was basically seeing evidence of burn stuff, probably 50 years ago or something like that. So nothing recent, but there have been a few fires that have probably affected some of these things that I've been looking for. We all still with me? Any questions so far before I dive deeper?
Nope, you're good. I'm just kind of thumbing through the files you put in the Google Drive. So
sweet. Yep. So I took I took some general coordinates, right? I got myself onto state plane and was like, okay, it looks like this point's coming in over here. And, that's what I started with, trying to find some of these things. When I looked near the corners, I mean, I can't even get to this corner. It's so deep in there. I'm going to try later. But yesterday, with the idea that, hey, this is going to be brutal and I need something to show these guys I'm talking to tomorrow, I went out with the recorded map that's done by a very good local surveyor, a guy that I respect, and very glad when I run across his map. So that surveyor is Jim Wilson, and he's a local surveyor, and he knows his stuff. I mean, this guy, I trust his work. I think he's a CFED-S. He's licensed like 4 states or something like that. If I could get him to socialize, I'd be getting him into these meetings. But basically, this is along the line that you can see here out this way. My parcel, and I can turn off the LiDAR if it's getting a little bit too heavy, but basically it's the quarter corner that we found and a 16th corner and a section corner. I'm a little underprepared because I thought I'd be able to pull in the photos with each of these. Unfortunately, they didn't link automatically, and so I need to spend some time basically geo-referencing my photos, and I haven't done that yet because it was a crazy day today. But started out going out here and I found this monument, found this monument, and found this monument. Those correspond with this monument, and this monument, which I thought, hey, that might get me close to finding things on this south line. The south line is a township line. And my mouse is gone. Oh, there it goes. It's back. So the south line is a township line. I said, well, okay, if I can start finding these things, I can extend them across and start finding some other recorded maps. Additionally, this map here was called for on this later map by Stephen Brown. I'm not too familiar with Brown. I haven't seen much of his stuff, but in 2008, he found the two of Jim Wilson's points and, found some other things and rebuilt section 31. So I'm 2 sections to the east here, but I said, man, that would at the very least just help me start to get in the ballpark of some of these things. If you're looking at those GLO notes, you'll see that I'm looking for stakes and rock mounds, which, my understanding is that would mean that I'm looking for a basically quarter-foot wood post, maybe some charring on some of them in an amount of rocks. And unless I'm in the Mojave Desert, I don't know how much of that's going to really last all that long. I do have a question about some of the other things out there, but I'll get to that in a second. But essentially, by finding these 2 points, I thought, well, hey, I can maybe go out and search this 3-inch axle next time. And this guy Mather, James Mather, is the same person who surveyed my property as well. Looking through the GLO notes. I don't know why it always wants to read my text. So this is also, James Mather, and this is a township 1 to the south. Page 7, he was going along the south line of my property. And that's what I, first started to look for and get different ties to things when I was out here. So page 7. West between sections 4 and 33. I'm section 33, so he's going west along the line, which I'll try to get them side by side here so we can do a little bit of scoping out. And this was in 1878, I believe. I can go check the date, but essentially we are going west along these sections, starting here and, crossing a rail fence. No evidence of that found. Set quarter foot stake and made earth mound. White oak 12-inch. This is one of my first questions for the crowd here, and it's probably something I could Google an answer to, but ins.dia. I assume dia is diameter. But is it inside diameter? That doesn't make any sense with a tree. Inches. So inches used to. I thought that was why would inches be just drives me crazy, but I've never seen it with the S on it. So I was he does that throughout this, but thank you, Nick. So I figured it was something along those lines, but it was like ins, and I'm so used to having the debate over whether or not you measure a pipe to inside or outside diameter. It's like, wow, this guy's making a stand. Measure trees to inside diameter. But he's setting he's calling out basically white oak trees, which this whole area, I don't even know if I saw a black oak out there. I did, for a previous project, really start to dive deep into bearing trees and definitions of, because I was like, I've never even heard of a white oak before when I first looked at it, but basically that means that it's deciduous oak for the most part out here. It's these blue oaks and valley oaks that lose their leaves in winter and get very pale white bark on the face. And I didn't realize that most oaks can be classified into red oak or white oak, which I find fascinating, but is not the topic of the rest of this. So, okay. After that, we basically are opening and or entering a little open valley running south. So this area does start to descend towards the south. It's kind of descending either direction out of here, but in this area, it's a valley, it's south, and then enter dense growth of chamisal. I did that. And then you get to a ridge line and come back down the other side where we've got a set stake, made mound, dense growth of chamisal at the corners of these sections. So that's what I have to go off of on most of these. There is an older time that somebody else ran this line, but it was reran using some lines of occupation. Also, I posted a portion of this where I forget which of these three field note packs it is, but it says basically like, hey, I followed along and we made some choices because people have, you know, used these things. Maybe it's right here. But yeah, a lot had been, you know, obliterated just in the 20 years between different surveys out here. So through all of that on this south line, that's the line I think I'm most confident in so far. I found these three monuments while in the field, and I used that to go out and I basically staked along that line in two different dimensions. I tried to use the distance between the two monuments as my interval, so that way I was using the same interval that he was getting when he was out there. So in this case, we've got this section line being, or this quarter section line, excuse me, being 14 feet and change long. So I said, okay, well, I'm going to look 14 feet, you know, further than holding this monument. And when I have confidence in this one, if this isn't in there in the Google Drive, let me know. But basically, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
it shows how he's finding this, you know, these tree stumps and using the, you know, and it's all agreeing, and he's using those GLL notes, and that's what I'm trying to do. And I'm like, just struggling to get it to happen as well for me. So extended that line out, searched in here. That brought me really just into the deep grove area. And I'll turn, it looks really nice and smooth on the LiDAR. This is just a public LiDAR overlay. And I'll just turn these two off so you can see the high resolution overlay that I've got here. All possible to do without spending a nickel. I'll help anyone do it if they are interested. I just do not have a lot of free time right now. So this, you know, I was searching in here. It's a little bit messy with all these. I was shooting topo on my way also. So let me get some of these points out of here. But in here, I didn't really find much. I found some scatterings of rocks. It was, you know, under a canopy of manzanita, essentially. There's this old barbed wire fence that follows the red line you can see on the map. So, you know, it wasn't like there was a slam dunk pipe or, you know, an old post that said, you know, 33 on it. I found almost nothing. I can pull up the photos and show you what the quote unquote rock mound shot number 3002 here that I shot is, but it's not pretty. It's something that, you know, you could say maybe it's a rock mound, but it's a smattering of rocks. And let me see if I can pull that up for us. How are we doing so far?
One of the things, as I was looking through some of those surveys, the difference in the bearings like you've got a pretty big angle break at that whole section 31, the south line of section 31, where it drops to like 81 degrees. And then
Mhm.
and it comes in at like 89, comes down to 81, and then leaves again at 89. Like that's interesting. That's what kind of jumped out to me really quick. But and then you're trying to push that same line through,
Yeah.
which I'm sure that that's necessarily going to work.
So instead of finding you the photo, because I mean, it's literally just a photo of rocks. I can find that for you guys in a second when we get into more discussion maybe, but let's let's head east and I'll tell you what I know. So, um, you know, heading east, I've got these are just barbed wire fence shots. So, I've got a barbed wire fence, and then we've got a tag here. This tag I put next to no weight on because of how it was placed. It's just a tag on a wood post. I believe it might be the oldest practicing LS in California, but it's not purporting to be the quarter corner. It's not anything but a fence that was placed based on existing or a tag that was placed based on existing fence locations. And so I don't think I have it open right now, but see if I can pull it open real quick for us. So there's that, and it's, you know, but it's in line with the fences because that's how it was placed. So that is going to be, oh, did I short you guys? I shortchanged you guys on maps, I think. Yeah, let me add you some more. My apologies. So, you know, research-wise, let's see which map I found. Oh, maybe I gave you every map that I actually put in there because I found this to be of so little value. Let me see. So I can pull it up real quick if we need to see it, but essentially this parcel here, I think, might pull it up. So after that, continued on and got up here to where approximately I wanted to find something, and we had a 2-inch iron pipe set by an RCE, no record. I need to reach out. I knew this point would be here because I had previously set up on Highway 49 over here and hiked in 2 miles on a different day and met with total failure. I lost signal and was like, I found a 16th corner along this line and then came back in and actually measured this one and tied it in because I had seen it previously. So it's a 2-inch iron pipe, purports to be the corner. It is near where some very, very old, now now failed barbed wire fences come in this way, coming from the rock. There's a outcrop of rocks in here, and the fence. There's this old barbed wire fence, very old posts, barbed wire on the ground, fences on the ground, but you can see these old, you know, quarter-foot posts heading west. They hit near the corner where I've got my section corner that was set by an RCE and nothing recorded. And then it heads kind of to the north with a couple posts and then went a long, long way before I found anything else again. At this point, you know, if I can call what I have over here anything close to an original corner, I could possibly accept this corner as well and have the south line. Who knows? After that, I headed north and I think I found one post. There are topo calls, lots of topo calls in the What is this? Sorry, let me find my PDF. So there are plenty of topo calls in our Mather GLO notes, and we're going across these creeks and whatnot. So this is page 26 of this. 26, 31, and 30 are the 3 pages that cover it. So, cross Musicdale Ravine, cross a brush fence, set stake, a tie to, a white oak, which bears this. And I shot most of the oaks near these areas, but wasn't finding all that much besides the creeks. And so when I'm in here, I shot creeks as I went across to make sure I would get good. I wanted to match up my LiDAR and overlay it. I shot a 26 oak here that I have a photo of. I can share in a little bit. It's, and I shot some rock mound question marks. So really like three somewhat loose rocks that I could kind of locate would be as close as I could get to saying anything in the way of a rock mound actually exists out here. Found a really cool, I think it was an old hunting blind. I don't know why I shot it. It's probably not anywhere near where we're going, but you can see a long way from it. And then this is a rock, a post inside 3 large rocks that had been used as a barbed wire fence post, basically. I think it was only still there because it had fallen away and been set in a way that it was not touching dirt at any point, so it didn't rot. It was incredibly weathered. No idea the actual age, but it's not something from 50 years ago. It's older than that. I'd be confident enough to say that with and I've got a photo of it, just not tied to my points like I was hoping I'd be able to get for you guys today. Up here I was supposed to have, and I got to go find this in the GLO notes, but I was supposed to have a oak as the corner, and I'd like to show you that. And then I was supposed to have a bearing tree to another oak. At this point, so I had staked the line between the record boundary or the non-recorded iron pipe I found at the southwest corner, and I staked a line through this post I found, and I just started searching at different intervals up here and shot some trees in the area. There are a ton of trees. None are really old enough, besides some dead ones. And then after that, I hiked all the way down and shot a post that has, this barbed wire fence continues all the way through past this post. This is a 14-inch big circular post, very old, and it's a T, so it's straight, and then it goes up to the north. And I don't know if I've got, maybe I didn't record a shot in there. I don't know. Maybe I just didn't. At this point, I'd hiked probably 4 miles or so with a lot of lot of elevations, ups and downs. And so I was pretty tuckered out. So it was getting dark. I hiked my way back to the car, which is parked here. And that was my day. I then drove up here and located some other oaks that I thought were, big enough to be old enough to have been called for by these GLO notes. And yeah, I can pull up some of the GLO notes. I can pull up photos for specific trees that I saw, and I need to figure out my, if anyone out there uses Carlson and knows why, when I exported photos I took on my RT4 into my Carlson software, why didn't I get my photos to automatically be added into the point attributes? It's infuriating. So that's my general overview. This image should be here. Um,
So I guess zoom out a little bit. So what is, there's so much work to the west of 31 or 33. You're not saying much to the east of 33. Is there any surveys or is there much?
East of 33,
Yeah.
is still part of this. So this is a 4,000 acre cattle ranch
Okay.
that encapsulates my property and goes all over the place. And over here, pulling map, I kept going and I basically have to get probably 2 sections. I still have yet to find a recorded map that shows me any sort of section information going that direction. That being said, I have not gone as far as I did searching records in the western direction because it's just a longer way to go, and I was scrambling to get an idea of anything out here and get some shots so I could ask you guys questions about what we might do, what we might know, and my questions are mainly along the lines of I've got all of these topo calls, and realistically, I can place things okay and get somewhat close with these topo calls. And at that point, I can return and search for old trees and see if I can find something that might kind of convince me that, yes, this is the original corner. However, you know, if it, my main question is levels of evidence and if it's a better practice to try to follow those topo calls and use, a single, little rock mound question mark, or
Yeah,
if
I
I
think
should be doing double proportion and, going out further and find, what is going to hold, what do you guys think? Somebody help me, please.
I would say this is my own opinion, and I'm sure there'll be other people that chat in, but you do not have enough information to really start to build that whole south line of that township. I mean,
Mhm.
you've only got the first 2 sections, and you haven't gone really farther east. I go back to that alarming issue of section 31 being either 81 degrees or 83 degrees, a couple of the surveys you have, but you've almost got to go all the way to the east corner of that township and
Mhm.
work your way back on that whole south line. Because
Mhm.
really, you want to know, you can't trust those topo calls until you've determined that they've actually started setting corners. Um, there's some evidence, but there's not a lot. I mean, the one survey says that the falls in Mrs. Ball's house's foundation, attested by the grandson, and that's on 29 and 30. But I just think you have a lot more field work to determine, and then the flip side of that is what is the how known are these surveyors, right? There was ones that were fraudulent surveyors, and is this one of those fraudulent surveyors, or is there history on he's done a great job in 15 other townships, right? So
Mhm.
those are
So my
a
question,
couple of my thoughts real quick, but
so with the fraudulent surveyor question, what gives me faith so far in James Mather, and I've done some
yeah,
cursory searches, but very little otherwise, is that we've got two different surveys in the same township that have found what he purported. I mean, not entirely correct, right? He was off by, um, you know, uh, a quadrant here, but
northeast to southeast. Yeah, I saw that.
yeah, but he was at least out there setting, setting things, scribing trees,
And I think that's where you got to start finding more to your east of you to start to be able to start kind of blending all of this together. You definitely
mhm,
can't just work from 2 sections west.
yep.
I think you need to go to continue east to find additional evidence where it's, you know, less disturbed maybe, or it's more open and he did a little bit better job. But yeah, see, I mean, why is that such a big difference on that section?
Yeah. This angle is wild, but
Mhm.
everything out here seems to be be this way. And I'll go looking while we chat in the record, but I think So this is the tax map to the south, and you will basically have at least, I think, 2 sections before I can find a corner that has been recovered in the recording era.
Mhm.
And then after, I've got that non-record monument to the east, and I've got another point that I could go pick up. I think I have something on it. That is a 16th corner, also non-record, and I could search. I mean, I'm saying it's non-record. It might be record. I just haven't found the record of it yet. So some of these, like this map, took me forever to find because it's only referred to by other maps at this, I think this one, you know, some of these encompassing maps, Amador County doesn't have a great, let's say differently. Amador County doesn't have a system really for any of this as much as just knowing where to look for some of these things.
To George's point he threw in the chat, and the first thing that came to mind when we started this is we needed Parrish on this. We needed Parrish on this Zoom call, but I try to approach it from all of Parrish's seminars, and he did a lot of this where it was lost. Or trying to follow Benson syndicates and all of these fraudulent surveyors and still try to piece things together. So, yeah, exactly. Yeah. I hope he's not part of that Benson syndicate. That's why I'd love to know history of like other townships that this surveyor did to make sure, because you're not finding a whole lot of evidence, at least in these first 2 sections, but until you start to go east or north. But topo calls at this point are going to be some of the last ones, although this Brown survey says that some of those things fit the topo calls from the notes, but we don't have a big enough dispersion yet of sections to be able to piece this together. This is one of those where it starts to get bigger and bigger and bigger, right? Because you're not finding, you're dealing with 160 acres, but you're really going to be dealing with, half a township by the time you're done, probably.
I'm kind of the opinion of that the same thing with what Trent was saying with respect to the township line, the township corners.
Yeah.
One of the things you could try doing is just doing some preliminary single double proportionate measurement along a respective line, single proportion along the township boundary, and see how those positions fit some of the topographic calls. See if it puts you in the neighborhood of them.
Yeah.
See how well that fits together. It kind of might make you feel a little bit more comfortable with the topo calls, maybe not so. The other question I had was, I noticed all of your notes are typed out notes. What's the story behind the typed out notes?
Good point. Especially from 1870, right?
Yeah, typewriter wasn't invented yet,
I'll,
was it?
I'll chime in here. 1906, they're all in San Francisco.
Oh, and the fire.
And the fire.
Yep.
Big earthquake. So a lot of them, they had to go back to Washington, D.C., and they typed them up and, put them out here.
Yeah, well, the reason I bring that up is because something similar happened in Iowa years and years ago where they had a fire where the original records were, and the fire suppression system water kicked in and smeared all the notes. So they hired the WPA and the CCC people during the Depression to type up the notes. So they didn't know what the hell they were looking at. So they tried to interpret the notes and then just put together all sorts of stuff. So some of the notes don't make any sense, even though they're all typed up and that type of stuff. So that was the other thing is I don't know if you've checked those back against what the GLO records are, the records that the GLO's got, because I refer to those every now and then too, just for those notes that were hard to see, hard to interpret, to see how close they match to it. Same thing with plats and that type of thing. But anytime I see typed up notes like that, I kind of question if somebody had to interpret those. And that INS, that inches, is that something that somebody just put in as an abbreviation while they were typing, or because that's the way they interpreted something, or what? So those are the kind of things you want to double check against.
Great
Where
points.
where did you say you go for that information?
I can send you. I can send you the. I'll post it in a chat window, but it's a GLO site. You can find the original, the copies of the plats and the notes, the originals. I'll get that and put that up to right now.
Cool.
One thing, All notes are not, this is California, and all notes are not online yet,
Yeah,
because it's such a big state. So the only way you're gonna get them is contact Sacramento, the BLM office there, and request. You probably requested anything for Section 33, and they give you things around it. Now, it looks like as you go west or east out of there, you've got some mining claims.
Yeah.
Mining claims can get tied to section corners, or should be tied to
yeah,
section.
yeah. And as a matter of fact, on the GLO site, you can also find the original land patents there also.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of historical information there that you can dig into.
So I was under the impression that mining claims had mainly record ties to section corners. And I don't know, I think I read that in the BLM manual somewhere, that basically the mining claims might not have actually located the corner itself during their survey. True, false, anything?
I think it depends on a certain point if the mining claim existed before the PLS came through. Because of the pre-existing claim, then the survey, the PLS would have had to refer to the mining claim itself.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know if Ian's still on, but I'd also be curious what Ian thinks about the fraudulent survey angle, because I think I had a discussion with him once and he recommended a book to me about that.
There's Chaining the Land by Bud Uzez.
Yeah.
And I looked up in his latest one. There's two books. There's a green cover dust jacket and a red cover. And 8 North, 10 East isn't listed in the red cover at all.
Nope.
So I'm going to say that's probably not a fraudulent survey. Now, the thing is, when you get around these corners, how abundant are the rocks? Are they everywhere? Are they just these guys were walking or on horseback?
Yeah, I'd like to see the pictures of the rock mounds that you found.
Agreed. That was going to be part of my conversation too. Is we've done some of these in northern Cal where the rock pile is 2 or 3 rocks and there's not much to them. But
Yeah, part of the deal is, do the rocks look the same? Because if they are from a fragmented boulder, then they will all be identical. If they all are different, then clearly they were hand carried into the area. And coyotes don't carry big rocks very far. Axemen do.
So it's hard to see through all the lichen here, but
Yeah.
that's the tip of a rod, and I've got, some larger, like 2 larger rocks inside a little strip of smaller rocks that descends downhill. And this was basically where, this is within about 15 feet of where my calcs had taken me in the south west
Yeah,
corner of our property.
your
So
best tool in an area like that is a brass brush to clean the lichen and crap off the stones and take a look at them.
And so would I be looking for marks on the stones themselves?
Not on a rock mound, you wouldn't.
Yeah, so what's the brass brush gonna do? Just, I'm not following.
You're going to be able to see whether or not the rocks are the same kind of rocks or if they are broken up pieces of a single rock. Broken up pieces of a single rock means that they weren't moved into the area. Different stones that don't fit together, that don't look like each other, were clearly carried into the area. And out someplace like that, there's no reason to carry stones into an area unless you're building a rock mound.
Mm-hmm. When you're talking about bringing stones into an area, how far typically are these things sourced from? I mean, is it?
Where are the rocks?
It's basically where you could find the nearest rocks, and you're bringing them in on horseback.
I mean, I have literally on a section corner that everybody had accepted as being the original stone for William Minto's survey that I never felt comfortable with. Realized after I was sat there taking readings taking a GPS shot on the big potato rock that everybody else thought it was, realized that I was actually stood on the flake that his axeman Aloysius White, I think it was, had carried that probably 500-600 feet. But Aloysius White was probably 6'6" and about 350 pounds, and not somebody you wanted to screw with in a back alley.
Yeah.
It's going to look different. It's going to look weird. It's going to look out of place. But the only way you can really get into that is to clean that puppy off and take a look at him.
Okay.
And
I mean,
another
I've got a
thing-
brass brush that I carry in my vest, but it's a little brush.
Yeah, you need a good sized brass
You know,
brush for like a welder's brush.
Were all the corners that were set, were they wooden post, or did they set stones, rocks?
So this is a good question. I had,
Okay, there's one I saw set a stake in a earthen mound or dirt mound,
mhm.
earth mound here. So I'm thinking there's no rocks that are close by.
Yeah.
You know, they would have grabbed the rocks.
This is for the south quarter corner of section 33. So,
Okay, so they're not finding any rocks around it.
mhm.
So they built an earth mound. Well, that's going to be hard to find in that country. You know, and the stone or the post, because he just says set a quarter stake. Well, were they cedar? What were they made of? I know in my neck of the country, cedar stakes don't last long. I'm in the southern San Joaquin Valley of California, and they seem to rot out. And I've seen evidence where notes on maps that said 20 years have gone by. Okay. Made corner of a white oak, 22 inches in diameter.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was,
Okay.
this is exactly the question I had.
Okay, that oak was probably the tree. That corner is the tree. That's where it fell in, they didn't cut it down. So they said the corner's in the tree. So all you can look for there is the tree.
Okay, so that's what I was curious about here. So this is at the these are the calls at the northeast corner, but essentially we've got made corner, and I said, okay, I'm gonna locate some of the trees in this general area. There are a lot, none that would be old enough to be. I mean, how long has it been since 1878? At least 10
years, yeah.
But you got how I don't know what looks like it can rain in there, but it also this could be on the dry side where they don't get much water. And the trees won't grow as much.
And
So,
basically I would expect, I mean, if these oaks are, I would expect them to grow maybe an inch every, I don't know. It's a relatively dry area. I would expect them to be significantly larger, but not massively larger, right? We might be talking about them growing a quarter inch, maybe an eighth of an inch a year. Does that sound like a reasonable?
That's
I'm not
pretty
arborist.
big. That's fast growing. I would think much less than that.
you could go to your local colleges and ask them, how fast does an oak tree, go to the department, heck, I've gone as far as talking to the geologist and asking, I got a surveyor that said he set granite, and in the area I was, there is no granite. And the geologist says there's no granite there. So the surveyor called out the wrong type of stone, but yeah, I mean,
So
I don't
with
know why if they found large stones, why they didn't inscribe them and use those. I can understand using the tree.
and in this area, I mean, there are large rock outcrops. It's just they're, essentially, unmovable, I think. And
Okay, is this in the area of the tree?
so this is the northeast corner. This is the photo that I'm, sorry, I think I misunderstood your question. What was your question, Tim?
Was that the photo of the tree that was supposed to be set near the northeast corner?
It was the largest tree in the area near the northeast corner. I mean, there was a couple other dead trees, but if we're talking about, a plus or minus of, 20 feet or more, it was, and especially, I mean, it might be a plus or minus of 100 feet, judging by the crazy angle of this section line, according to, this is just 31. But going there, I could be looking for basically any large tree in this area. When I'm out there looking for something like this, I'm desperately trying to find something that looks like an apparent, um, one, a tree old enough and large enough, and two, um, in the right direction with some small amount of rocks. And I'm being cattle land, I'm not even sure a rock mound would last more than a couple years, just because it could so easily just be trampled on everywhere. Everywhere I went, I would sink in the springs, half a foot into the mud if I wasn't careful, and then there are little rock outcrops here and there. I
Like
guess.
you say, I'm sorry to interrupt, but like you say, at cattle country, they love to scratch their sides on posts. They can knock the post over. Um, because he didn't say how much he set in the ground. They usually say how much the post is set in the ground, set like a 3-foot post, 1 foot in the ground and 2 foot above, and built a mound of stone. And they usually kind of give the size of the mound, be it 3 foot in diameter.
Mhm.
But in trees
So,
they always use inches.
so when searching for these things, so this is an old dead tree that was near the northeast corner. I think it's 32-inch oak, dead. And I'm looking for two trees that were 20 inches or so at the time of the survey. And this one's, it's already eaten one round of barbed wire, and they came in and put some more in, and even that's pretty old. So it's a very old tree, and I've got this fence line going all the way down. I guess my question for you guys now going forward, my next visit, I can do a couple different things, but what I would think makes sense would be, there are some recorded maps out to the east in the same township. I have not yet found a good one to the north, but eventually, if I go far enough, I should be able to find a section corner, um, out along these lines in either, and I don't know how exactly easy or hard it will be to get to them, but would you start with finding those corners and then double proportion or single proportion, whatever you have, back in and try to reduce your search area that way? Or would you be going out to that large area and be like, this is the only thing that makes sense?
Well, I'd go like Jerry, go down the would be the township line, and you got to find something on that, because the exterior of the township in this is single proportion. If you can find something further east, then you can proportion against it, and that would narrow you down. Now, when you start shooting north, out of this, and you find one, then you got to, the corners should be double proportioned on 33 on the northeast and northwest corner. But your range line is going to be single on its own. So you got to determine that southerly line of 33.
So with these crazy angles I'm getting, let's say, I mean, so at this corner, I did find a monument, and I've got, monuments in here. And if I even find, let's say I find something that records that map, I think if I were to take, um, just talking about the south line, or let's say I even find another monument further east, when you would single proportion, would you use that single proportion to search an area for that rock mound, or would you be and start with that before anything else? And in the event that you find nothing at all, or a loose, I mean, I guess what level of evidence do you start to say? And I don't know what the manual says, but is it preponderance, clear and convincing, beyond, like, where are we at with that, with the levels of evidence, or is it one lower than that, which I cannot for the life of me remember what it is right now?
Well,
No,
for
I
a
think-
legal case, it's a preponderance of evidence. But for something like this, without any other surveyors having other opinions in there, then it's basically what you're going to hold and hold forward. And this is where the narrative comes in the map, in that you have said, this is what I've done and this is why I've taken these decisions, so that if anyone comes in after the fact, then they're going to follow your decisions, or they're going to have to do a hell of a lot more work to kick over the apple cart. The whole point here is you have no right to establish where that line is. You are just a surveyor. The only people that have a right to establish where the line is are the property owners. What they believe is true, unless you can absolutely prove is wrong, is true. All you're there to do is help them document what they believe they own. So in this case, unless you have a huge preponderance of evidence that says, I'm sorry, you're wrong, here's where the line really is, then you really have no business trying to establish that boundary line. That was the whole point that I kept trying to make as a county surveyor in Alameda. This is not, it is not your job to determine where the property line is. You don't have that authority. You only have the authority to look at the evidence and present the evidence to be able to bring it forward.
Can I use that argument to say that I'm not establishing the lines as part of this survey, and as long as I don't set boundaries, I shouldn't have to file a record of survey?
That's not what that says. Read it again.
Sorry,
I'm
just trying to get out of it on this
read
project.
what establish means, I'm going to refer you to the original 1942 case where the word "establish" was defined legally by Wells Lamont v. the Government War. Jerry, help me out. It was the Government War Price Fixing Agency.
Antitrust stuff, you mean?
No, it was basically it was a deal where the word "establish" means that if you set the where the line is based on somebody else's uneducated inference, then you have established the line. So yeah, you're putting a line on the ground. They're accepting your word for it. You're establishing the line. If that line has never been shown on a record of survey, you're going to be filing a record of survey.
You remind me to later on bring up my loophole and in the PLS Act, and I'll
I love it when people talk about loopholes in the PLS Act, because you haven't read it well enough.
Well, no, this one just takes some very intentional misunderstanding, and there are plenty of people who do that. But yeah, not me. Don't worry.
I agree with you. There are people who would misunderstand a six-sided die to roll 8s and 9s, but
That's awesome. So I would say, Kyle, like running for me, it would be running to the east, like the west of 31 and the east of 36, and you establish the township line, and then start working your way back down that township line, finding everything you can along those 6 miles, and then you can start to see distances as they relate to the original map. Again, I still get hung up on the huge angle break at 80 south line of 31. This makes no sense to me.
I looked at the government plat. It looks like they did a resurvey of 31, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I was trying to pull up that too, and there was also field notes associated with some of the mining claims in section 35. It says
right.
So, checking out those and seeing what they found as well, that associated, with all of those mining claims. There's field notes in the diagram of the plat. And it says C. Brown's, I think it's something Brown's field notes of 1990. Jesus, 1890.
So I can do that. I mean, that's the plan right now, right? I can come out and find some more things to the east. With regards to moving north, what's
north on 31 and north on 36 to start. so you can get to the northeast of 36 and the northwest of 31, establish that line, and then start to work your way down that line.
So 31, I'm pretty confident I can find a corner at that
That was that
axle.
axle. Yeah.
Yep. And
Yep.
then out here,
What about the northwest of 31? To try to figure out that. Well, I mean, that angle was still goofy on 30, all of 31 on the north line too.
yeah, what is that map number? So this is 31. Whoa. Trying to
Yeah,
snap.
number what, 659 or something?
Yeah, and so
83 on the north and 81 on the south.
yeah. I found aluminum BLM cap and fence line. So this is accessible and I can get to it.
Yeah.
And you know, heading east, there are some recorded maps. I think in 35, so I should be able to hopefully find something that starts to break this down. And then the next big problem I have searching is heading north. I will actually cross county line eventually, and I've done you know, would it be, you know, to restore this corner, would you say, you know, get something over here, get something over here, and head north, and then use that double proportioning to come back in and search, and then maybe lo and behold, I'll find that stump. Because right now I'm looking, I'm like, oh man, there's just grass everywhere, and you know, I'm not going to find a stump right now. I might find an old dead oak tree, and there's stuff there, but you know, nothing that I can pin down an area to search in that's reasonable. I'm gonna be effective.
How much barbed wire is in the area? Barbed wire fences?
Plenty. And the back of my leg can attest to that.
Okay.
But and I need to check about my tetanus shots and where I'm at in that. But
Every 10 years. But understand this, barbed
there's
wire
a
was
lot of it.
sold in rolls of 80 rods, 1,320 feet. And the rancher would roll those out. And they would put that, you know, on the post, and they'd use it to measure by. The rancher would. So, you know, don't be afraid just to, you know, if you see a fence, take a shot on it just to see what the bearing of it is, you
So
know.
I have
And
located all of the fences along here that I have found so far. You know, yesterday on my, you know, my march, I located basically fences along the south line and you know, what I could from old fence on the east line, and there's definitely a fence running near the north line. And then in this area, this is a, you know, I don't even know if I'm searching in the right line because this is what the PLSS viewer has. You know, that angle might be way over here, and you know, the search area is massive, but there's definitely a fence that comes in here. As far as the clearing, that's, you know, almost certainly being done off of, you know, there's a line of clearing that's happened, but no fence that I have found in that Chamisal. So I still haven't even searched for this quarter corner on this side, mainly because even if I get to right here, this little turnout, it is at least a probably 2 hour hike to get here because of the denseness of that shrub. You know, I'm basically I'm going to try to chainsaw a line in when I need to go up there and search, but it's going to take a long time to get through that stuff. It's, you know, you go less than you know, less than what an eighth of a mile an hour or something. It's crazy. So it's on the to-do list to get up there.
Well, you could wait till the middle of summer and ask the Israelis to fire one of the space lasers in there and start a forest fire.
I heard about them doing that. It seems effective. Um, so I mean, we got about like what, 15 minutes left or something.
No, this is great. You're gonna have to do a follow up on this.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? I'm just not going to do the field work. We'll just put the monuments wherever, wherever the GIS map
well,
says.
Hey,
I'll do a follow up on this. George, this is not hostile in any way, shape, or form. Basically, everybody out there has been super friendly. I talked to this homeowner, and man, props to that guy. Nicest guy I've talked to in a long time. So Yeah, it's all everyone's been perfectly friendly. It's just kind of trying to get an idea of what land this person purchased, so that way we can, you know,
Survey is going to cost more than land.
You know,
yeah.
according to
Yeah,
the manual,
the house down there that runs with the
Yeah.
line running through it,
Yeah.
which side of the line does that guy supposedly own?
It's got to be in section 33. He's hoping he's on the north side, right? Kyle,
Sorry, down.
your nicest neighbor you've ever met. Yeah,
Oh,
that guy, right where your cursor is. Yep. He
yeah.
thinks he owns section 33.
He thinks he is this little rectangle in section 33. I definitely have the assessor map. And he had the local survey firm come out and they held fence posts that, lo and behold, fit perfectly with existing evidence of occupation. And so, basically the survey firm that did this work comes out and they locate the largest fence post they can find, and then that they say it's not possible to recover this boundary. I was trying to find that map a little while ago, but I gave up
You
on
have a
it.
copy of it?
Of that map?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd had it. I didn't actually put it in the folder because I was like, well, this is worthless. But
I'm sure we'd all like to see that if you want to
it's quite the note. I mean,
take 5 seconds. Let's try to find that because that sounds interesting.
so
one thing that I see, when going through these government surveys and doing them, that when they went up between 31 and 32, they're supposed to tie in to the west, to the range line, but they didn't. They're getting paid by the mile.
Yep.
They say they did. They fake it. I mean, I'm up against Glover and some of his shenanigans, but I see that happening quite a bit because it depends on what the contract says. What he's supposed to do. Like if he's doing all the interior of the section, he's going to start at the township line to the south between 35, 36, heading north, setting the quarter corner, then heading up another 40 chains and setting the section corner, and then heading off to the east and seeing how far off. He'll set a temporary post at 40 chains, and then he'll say, oh, I tie in at 79.63 chains, and then I'm 10 feet north. Then I run on true line back and I correct up the quarter corner. Well, he doesn't run the true line back. He just goes and corrects up the quarter corner because he has a distance and all that.
Who corrects up the quarter corner? Because it ain't the surveyor who's going there. He's going on to the next section.
Right. You are correct.
The 15-year-old kid who's just
like you'll be going, let's say you're going easterly and you set the temporary quarter corner, and it's calculated that the guy's got to set it 5 feet south. Well, he gets up there, he doesn't know what way south is, and he puts it 5 feet north.
Yeah, or it's
now you got another spot.
3 links north and 5 links east.
Yeah,
and 15-year-old kid gets out there and he's hearing stuff in the bush all by himself, and it's like, was that 3 links east and 5 links south? And throw the rock and get the hell out of there.
So they move on, and you'll find them that way sometimes.
Yep.
He doesn't even move it.
Yeah, that's true. It stays there. But now the quarter corner to the west of that section corner that he came back to, he herringboned it. He just stubbed out 40 chains, put it in the ground, and then headed north.
Yep.
And he goes on north, and he gets up into between section where he sets the 1 to 1, 2, 12, and 13. And he might go a quarter mile north or a half mile north, 40 chains, sets it, and never ties in to the North Township line, even though he says he did. These guys are trying to make money, and looking in the type of terrain you're in, these guys are losing money. Because I know that, in 1909, when the GLO took over surveying and got rid of all the deputy surveyors because they took all the good stuff, And then they would have to come in and fix some of these problems. And that's why I think 31 had another survey done on it. So, you know, you may have to ask for the notes for the complete township line to the south,
Mhm.
you know, and all those section 36, 35, 34. Of course, you got 33 and 32 and 31, and then, you know, go north. You know, you're going to have a bunch of maps and a bunch of notes, you know, and also, you know, I worked off of topo maps, 7.5 minute quadrangles. You know,
Mhm.
that's how I go find my corners.
Mhm.
You know, I've been doing it for years. And by the way, I am not an LS. I am an LSIT. Been one for 42 years, but I can do half-ass surveying too. So that's the way I always say it. But anyway, those are things that I see. And you can also try to date the barbed wire.
Yep.
There's patents on barbed wire. See when it was set. So, you know, when you say you got a lot of research still to go.
Is
Yeah.
Serotoma still going?
I'm sorry.
Serotoma, the last map you had up there, LS 3570?
Reportedly still goes into the office every day, though he's not the main LS stamping in there anymore. I think they've got the guy from Bro and Associates works there now. And
Wow.
but yeah, Ciro, he's got a license number in the 3000s.
Yeah,
I
3570.
Yep, Jack Sweeney is like 39 something, so he's still kicking. That's Dallas Sweeney's father, and he's still surveying some stuff, but he's like, yeah, I don't really like doing the field work anymore. I need to get removed from that list.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, if you look at I found a better
But
map
this is,
note
as you say,
somewhere, but
that's the same Stephen Brown that you had up on another map. Yeah. Same LS.
yes.
Yep.
Yeah. And this is back in 1990. And, you know, finding and holding, he's setting nail and shiners in the top of wood fence corner post. And this is a boundary line adjustment that, you know, basically it seems to be popular for this one and the other map here to say, you know, hey, why doesn't everyone just do a boundary line agreement deed and do a boundary line adjustment to reflect that? Because we can't survey this. And yeah, I'll find that other map that says, you know, it's not recoverable, but this is the tag I found was this one, and then I found this post as well, and you know, what is that worth? There's no, there's a lot of these in the area where it's basically this is where the boundary is because I put it there, and you don't get any explanation of, you know, how things got where they are. You know, some parcel maps I've seen have one recorded, you know, one found marker, and you're like, okay.
I mean, that
So-
doesn't even reference section 33. Like you wouldn't even know where that thing was at.
Well, it doesn't even look like it honors the fence line on that one boundary.
Yeah.
It accepted as perpetuation of north quarter corner per, you know, this document. I could pull that document and see what it thinks.
It's north quarter corner of section 4. So they just ran north from section 4.
It's a good question, but this is the tag I found here, and then this 12-inch diameter post. I still have yet to find the recorded map for this property, though this guy was convinced that he had a survey done and recently, so we'll see.
Oh, okay. So
Haven't found it.
that's below your neighbor. So that's in section. Okay.
Yeah, this
Oh,
is
there
the
it is.
nice neighbor, and then
Sorry,
this
sorry,
is this is to the south, and you know I'm up over this way by the hand.
I
But
got you. Okay. I'm on it
uh, I'm curious if I can try. I don't want to be the only person who presents their problems. It's going to make me feel like a failure. So I'm
now.
I'm hoping somebody else out there will have some, you know, need to get some boundary advice like I do. And you know,
And-
when I talk to people about it, they're like, oh, you know, I don't want to put myself out there like that. But, you know, I'm just trying to advocate for somebody else to come up and do it because, you know, people in the survey world are overwhelmingly nice, except when they're, you know, responding to you via email and you come off a little bit.
That's okay. I've got one I'm kind of quasi consulting on that started out as a simple question that's kind of blooming out into all sorts of stuff
Oh,
that I think
nice.
will make a nice discussion problem if nobody comes up with something for next time.
Yeah, I think we were thinking about March 11th. March 11th would be the next good one. If
That'll
everyone's
work.
good with that. Okay. Yeah, and we
Yeah.
can post these out and, you know, get people to kind of bite on it and hopefully send their next one. But yeah, we can do March 11th for the next one.
Yeah, what I like to do is because, and this is a good example of it, there's such a volume of documentation and stuff, it's kind of hard to absorb it all in one sitting like this. Is I like to put together kind of a report ahead of time and then post it and have everybody kind of have access to it to take a look at it and kind of get a little bit of background before we get into discussing it.
Mhm. You like everybody to do homework, Jerry.
Yeah, that too.
Hey, I got a question for you, Kyle.
Hit me.
On the survey that you've been doing, how long has that ranch for the cattle ranch been there? Is it just open grazing with multiple people's lots, or is it like an actual ranch that's actually had boundaries and maybe cleaved off some of these parcels?
It's a good question. I met the ranch owner yesterday while I was out there, or the ranch caretaker, that is, and super friendly. Seems like it's been out there a very long time. I haven't looked into it more than that. You know, it's 4,000 acres and comprised of multiple parcels. And so here's basically any large chunk you see on assessor's maps in this area, or, you know, all of this parcel next to us, that's all part of the ranch. Everything seems to be part of that ranch that's near us. So he owns this, at least a lot of this, and I think it wraps all the way around. And, you know, because I was over here and it's the same owner, I think. Now, it could be that they're grazing on properties that they do not own, because the whiner, and I'm not talking about myself, though I am one, the guy who owns the ranch is whiner, but I know he grazes. These cattle are being grazed in like all of this area and a lot of this area as well.
Okay, thanks. I'm just kind of running through this. I'm also an LSIT, but I'm sitting for the PS on the 11th. So I'm trying to watch these things and kind of pick up what people are doing in real time. And I just had a review session with some of the BLM people here in Colorado. They talked about before 1909. Yeah, the data is considered to be suspect and lots of times sucks. So I hope that's not the case for this. But yeah, it's a lot of research for sure.
That reminds me, actually, with I know Tim, I think, mentioned that, you know, dating barbed wire. How do surveyors date barbed wire?
Not just
What
date, there's
line?
different types too. I mean, there's hundreds of types of barbed wire
Yeah.
sold in different brands.
And you know, you're correct, but the way they're all patented. I want to say they're all patented. You can, there are books on barbed wire. You know, I don't have one in my library of all things, but you can look at, you know, the points and the way it's wrapped in the twist.
So I understand that, and, you know, recognizing different, because I see a lot of barbed wire in my line of work, so I recognize the differences. What I'm not sure, or what I'm trying to get at, is when I've got my different photos of the different barbed wires, how do I say, hey, this is brand A barbed wire, this is brand B barbed wire? Are you going to the U.S. Patent Office?
You know, there are books out there just on barbed wire, people that have put them together, and they'll have patent. A lot of them have patent drawings in the books. I've looked through them. I just never bought one. But
I've got a small collection from Nevada.
Well, George, I will be at the March convention, and hopefully I won't be working on this then. But if I
Looking forward to
borrow that book
meeting
before
you.
that, I'll call you when I'm in Kirkwood.
Yeah, looking forward to meeting you. And if you're here long enough, schedule an extra day. We'll go. I'll show you around Mount Rose. Bring your skis.
Sounds good.
Although you can't tell anyone else in California about this ski area because it's a secret.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's our greatest export as Californians, right? More Californians.
At the moment.
You're
Kyle,
welcome.
Yeah.
one last question. Did you pull a master title plat on this land?
He had one in his Google Drive. Yeah, I saw the.
Did you see it?
I thought I saw the MTP.
Let me
Yeah.
pull that.
Yeah,
There was one there.
yeah,
There
it's
is
10.
one, okay.
And that's came directly out of the SAC BLM office.
Yeah.
So that's the wrong one.
But it's the one. I mean, oh, this is supplemental of 211. I don't see the MTP for 33 though. Oh, wait, maybe that's it. It's the big one. Yeah, there's a big one. There was a supplement and then a big one. Current as of 2020.
You know, because I know where I'm from, I mean, we get a lot of railroad property where they got the whole section of land,
Mm-hmm.
and then they sold it out. The railroad broke out the section of land however they want. You know,
This MTP still shows section 16 is full.
okay, it's hard to see because it's so small on mine. I'll just
Yeah, that one, Kyle, the left one. There you go.
Sorry, I got distracted.
Oh, you're good. Yep. So.
Yeah, so 33 broke up pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
34 only got
Yeah, just
four property owners.
Yep.
You know, then 35, you can see there's a mining claim, looks like it goes across the township line.
Yeah, there's 4 mineral surveys in 35.
Yeah. I'd look at that the one that's further south, and maybe it's got a tie to a corner there, like the quarter corner,
Mm-hmm.
south quarter corner of 35.
Yeah, 5990, I think it's right on the corner there. One of the corners of the mineral survey is the quarter corner.
No, it might have a tie to it
Yeah.
because it's so close. I mean, that's something I would look at.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's there's another one right there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right there. It looks like it is part of the quarter corner.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Look at that. Look at that mining claim.
SAC office is going to get another request from me. Basically, every project I start now, I just send them that because they're so valuable, that information. So
5990 is kind of weird with that bite taken out of it. It looks like,
Yeah.
Oftentimes when you see a bite taken out of it, it's because the mineral claim was after the sectionalized land survey. But then it looks like it lays over the top of the other line. So I don't see the history of the breakdown of this section or the next one, but that might be an interesting little card to look at.
don't think we have them digitized out of Amador. I'll have to go in there and get what I can from the SAC office. But some counties, California Map Source has gotten all of their mineral surveys uploaded already on here, and Keith Spencer might have them too. But this is a shout out to the guy who runs CA Map Source. If you're not lucky enough to be in a county like Ian came from, which puts your maps on the internet for free, public records should be available to the public, and this guy's making it happen like Keith Spencer is. So I'm on this site every single day, and I can't say how, we need more people to update those maps with me.
Yeah, it's easier just to, get a hold of BLM there in Sacramento and just tell them what you're looking for. Just tell them you need every map in section 35, section 36. Just name out your sections, township and range, and it might be 1 or 2 weeks, but they'll send them to you. They're free. You don't charge for them. So, and they'll pull everything on that section for you.
Hey, Kyle, let me share real quick if you want to stop sharing. This is some of these minerals over in section 35. This is on and it says to go see the field notes from John Brown dated November 11th of 1890. So
I mean, yeah, that's a pretty accessible area, so I should be able to get in there and find something, and or at least be able to search easily. And yeah, I mean, now that I look at it, and I didn't really think about it before, I think my winery might be in this same township, so I can just go survey while I'm over there.
Just grab a nice big table,
Yeah.
put your paper on it.
I'm just I'm just here to log static, I promise.
There you go.
So speaking of that, do you have that Chaining of the Land book, Kyle?
Um,
The History of California Surveying. There's 3 or 4 on eBay as well for those surveying in California right now. It's about $100, $130 online. But
Get hold of Chrissy Wilson at oh shit, they don't have them there anymore. Get hold of CLSA. They had a bunch of them that they were trying to sell. The second edition of that book.
I definitely haven't read it. I'm like halfway through Looters of the Public Domain right now, which was suggested to me by Ian. And it's pretty interesting, but yeah, I'm always trying to learn more about all these things. So Chaining of the Land will be on the to-do list.
Yeah, I still think that CLSA was trying to sell those for about $50 a copy.
You can also look at, see if Keith Spencer, he's got a big library online.
Yeah.
And see if he has copies of it. And the stuff about fraudulent surveys is in towards the back of the book.
Yeah.
It's
also keep in mind that some of those ideas about some of the fraudulent surveys, I'm not sure that they actually were fraudulent surveys. William Minto took more money out of the Benson Syndicate than any other person other than Benson himself. And I followed some of Minto's surveys, and they're spectacular, accurate surveys. I think he got caught up in switching contracts when his grandfather was ill at the farm up in Reading, and switched out with a guy who actually did fraudulent surveys, but which means that Minto's guilty of switching contracts, not the fraudulent survey, but penalty is the same.
I mean, what was the period of the Benson Land Syndicate? It's only like an 8-year period or something, right? Maybe 16 or something. It's pretty.
Man, I don't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, we had I have Parrish did a whole thing on Benson Syndicate early on in Mentoring Mondays.
Yeah.
That was amazing. Let me see what
I'm trying to add create my own personal timeline for all these things so I can keep track of it. So as I, go through and learn these different portions, I'm building into this timeline, all these different things. So I can say, what year were we? Oh, that's the year that, this historical person did this, or that's the year that the, Model T came out. So, before that you couldn't have an axle. That doesn't make any sense. Or, whatever, these things. Trying to
1870 to 1898 for the Benson Syndicate was the peak of activity between 1880 and 1885. So that follows quite a bit after your surveys there. So
week 13 was the Benson Syndicate on Mentoring.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'll plan on reporting back with hopefully more found.
Yeah. I would like to say, end of March, we can do kind of a follow-up. That'd be cool. So March 11th, maybe March 25th, before we go to the conference, we can.
Yeah, and if you get a chance to scrub up some of those stones in that mound area, that would be really cool to see some photos of those.
I've got a that one's easy to get to now that I've hacked a path through it. I only
Okay.
have to hop one gate and then one little bit of barbed wire and then I'm in. So
Okay.
not bad. Yeah. I'll
For
try
those
to
that-
add some photos.
Yeah, I was gonna say I threw in the chat, but for those that watch later, go to keithwspencer.net and you'll see some of the stuff that we were talking about. I threw in the chat the link to all of Keith's books that he has as PDF versions, but there's
Yeah.
tons of resources on there. So
Yeah, unfortunately, they're not online anymore, but I wrote a pair of articles in September and October 2004 for POB about the hunt for the sage stone down in Riverside County. And I had a bunch of people out there from BLM and other all over the world actually looking for stones there. And I learned so much about looking at stones. And the one thing that they always did was they carried canteens of water and brushes and scrubbed the crap out of the stones and washed them up before they made any comments.
can you email me, Ian, those particular dates and maybe if you know what volumes they were? Because I do have an email with the new publishing company and they do have those archives.
Oh,
And I've
wow. Okay.
sent emails before and she's been able to get me the copies. So
Okay.
I can
Yeah,
try. I can
I
try.
lost my copies of those and it kind of pissed me off, but
Yeah, I might even have copies. I got a bunch of old magazines at the office still, but yeah,
okay.
if you got a rough idea, I'll start to go back and then I can go to the archives. I've actually reached out to that publisher many a times to try to get that information back online because, like you said, there's so much history in those articles, but I haven't had any luck yet. I don't know
Yep.
how we can push it, but
Can I ask one California specific question about this project that I've got going? Just so I know what's in store for the future.
go for it.
So 8771.6 of the PLS Act, am I setting every one of these section corners and going back through after I find them and, putting a monument there as, appropriate for the corner themselves?
I would say at least every section corner within the township.
I mean, I can do it. I'll take some time, but y'all get there and,
And you're gonna have to record it in two different counties.
Whether you set what you set there is really your call, and nobody has a right to turn around and say, "Hey, you left a freaking rock mound there." That's what you can sleep with at night. Whatever you set, I will support whatever you set or don't set and
as long
stand
as the rock
behind you.
mount's got my license information scribed onto one of the rocks, I would.
Yeah, it needs to be a permanent monument.
Once you start reading all
Um,
these notes, these government notes and stuff, you'll find some crazy things. I read one, surveyor comes in, I found so-and-so stone, I destroyed it and set my own,
Oh yeah.
And there's no number on it. There's no anything on it. Did he actually find it? I don't think he did. I think he didn't know where to start and he just set one and let's run.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
you'll
and
see
you're
some.
talking about a weird angle in section lines, and I'll show you one in Southern California around Riverside County. The angle line that breaks off the south line, the south quarter corner of the section is ridiculous. And I know Jerry is big deal on don't set monuments based on topo calls, but the topo calls on this one are for the southeast corner of the section was they were headed south on this one because it's actually along the township line, the range line. And they set the monument near the top of a south facing slope. It might be the quarter corner. No, it isn't. It's the section corner. And it says it's about 30 links north of a stream. And the monument that is actually accepted as being the section corner now is on the north face of a on the bottom end of a north-facing slope that's about 60 or 70 links away from the creek. So it's like, man, you can't get, this is exactly opposite to what the original topo was. And if you hold the original topo, you get very close to what looks like it's probably the original stone. And the line is pretty straight. But if you accept the garbage that somebody didn't do the job and just picked up a stone, it's almost 1,200 feet out of position.
Yeah, and that's what I mean, 7 degrees, you're talking, 500-600 foot radius that you're looking. So it's, you're looking at a big circle.
What's your email address, Trent?
The short one's just Trent I can shoot you an email, yeah. Trent@dbacls.com. That's the easy one.
Okay. Just send it to you. Okay. Yeah, because some of those emails I got from the county, but they shut off my my account there already.
Yeah.
Yeah, wait till you get to the standard line.
Sorry.
When
Go ahead.
you get to the standards, then you got to find out which are the standard corners and which are the closing corners. Because California was, we came under the 1851 Manual of Oregon. And then in 1855, they flipped it. And so if you got to look at the first date on the map, when they set the exterior boundary or set the standard parallel.
Yep.
The only thing I didn't find in there, not to keep it going, but I didn't find that section 31 was resurveyed under the GLO website, Tim.
I looked it up and I went to the BLM website.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's not showing up under the GLO records. So interesting.
Yeah, I went to BLM website. Are you looking at his maps that he's got, or did you go to the site?
No, I went to the GLO records. Yeah.
Okay, that's right. I found it.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
I
I see 35 and 26, but I don't see a 31. But
yeah, it looked like it was 31. And yeah,
I don't know how hard it would be, but I mean, for me and, and loading information in and, reaching out to people like Jerry was saying, putting the information out there beforehand. If there was, some sort of like forum or, way to have like a, and you could even do it through like, what's his, rpls.com or something like that. But we could, then I could actually put the information on beforehand or we could put it straight on the, RTT site or, whatever you think. But
there's even, I have the Roundtable Tuesday Facebook too. So you can, all that.
I'd have to go on Facebook. They don't let me on there.
You might even think about hitting up some of the schools. Some of the kids that need some research for their PLS class would love this kind of stuff. I know I would have when I was taking it last year.
There you go.
You might even be able to find some of these young students that would volunteer to do some data collection for you as well. They like to hike and enjoy the outdoors. If you give them some coordinate data and point them in the right direction, who knows what they might find? And everybody's got a phone with a camera nowadays. Then it's up to you to evaluate what they found.
Yeah, that's the goal. Unfortunately, right now with my current financial situation as a small and young business, it would have to be an unpaid position.
Well, that's the Boy Scout merit badge. There you go.
I'm pretty sure I've done a lot of unpaid for work in my career.
I'm doing it right now. I love it. All right. Well, definitely ran long, but these will be a little bit more open-ended than just 90 minutes for sure. But that was a lot of fun. Hopefully, if you're ready, we'll pencil in for March 25th. Then we'll try to do them every 2 weeks. But Jerry will run March 11th, and then if you're ready to kind of come back and ask for more help on March 25th, that'd be cool too.
I'm game. The only reason I would say I'm not is, I want to see more than just me.
Yeah.
So if anyone else,
Everybody's going to want to see where this one goes though.
yeah,
So.
if anyone else is watching this recording or, has a boundary situation they want to bring up, that's what would be cool about the forum as well.
That's why it's really important that we let some of the younger surveyors know about this resource here, because a lot of us are older. We're not in our years and stuff like that. This is more of a curiosity for us type of thing, but the ones that could really benefit from it are some of the younger surveyors, and they're the ones that could have the problems that they really need the help with.
That's why I begged Ian to come too, though. He's got too much knowledge to not sit around.
And I'm still interested in what the average age of this little session was.
Yeah.
I know Tim and I are about the same age, probably.
Well, I'll
And
come out.
maybe Gary's a lot younger than I am, I'm pretty sure.
I stopped aging. I've just gone to different versions now. So I stopped at 70 and I'm gonna be 70 version 2 this year.
Oh, there you go.
2.0.
Just a
Yeah,
number.
2.0,
You
just
don't
two
have to grow
versions.
up, so the number doesn't mean a damn thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There you go.
growing up is optional. My wife would tell you I'm 4.5.
Well, when I was 21, we went back to, I'm originally born in England. We went back to England for one of my 21st birthday parties, and my dad had a spinster aunt, Auntie Maud, who at the time was 88. And I looked at her and I said, Auntie Maud, I'm 21. When do I start feeling like an adult? And she looked at me and she said, I don't know, Ian, but as soon as I find out, I shall tell you.
Have you heard from her?
Heard her?
From her?
Not yet, but I think I'd needed a Ouija board to do that now.
Yeah, like you say, the average age, I know I'm 70. I mean, we're
67.
We're up there.
77.
Yeah.
Jay's what, 85?
Well, you say, I started surveying in 1973 and I retired at age 62 and I still go out I go out with an LS. He's 76. And we do mountain surveys and they're taking their toll.
Yeah.
I'm 77 and it's hard to quit something you enjoy.
That's true.
Exactly. All right, everybody. I love it. Thanks, Kyle. Good stuff. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Trevor.
Kyle.
Thanks, Kyle.
Thanks.
Thanks, Kyle. Have a great night.
Bye, guys.
Good night.